comes out of their mouths, well, just sounds unloving and unhinged. How can we respond in a healthy way? Perhaps that is why you are listening to this. You feel hopeless. You want to engage your loved ones, but it seems like most of the conversations end in rage, name-calling, or estrangement. You wonder what is causing so many of our loved ones to talk, think, and act in ways that are contrary to the way of Jesus, while still assuming it is the Christian way. My new enemy. For me, one of the most painful revelations of 2020 was that many within the American church were not placing their ultimate hope in Jesus, but were instead buying the false promises of Christian nationalism, a movement that calls Christian followers to take government power at all costs to advance their preferred way of being in the world. For a few, this term, and its eponymous movement, is not new. They have seen similar nationalistic movements rise in the past. But for the vast majority of us, including me, this was a newly discovered phenomenon. While it may seem novel, this great beast of Christian nationalism, which seeks to destroy dissidents, misappropriate Scripture for its purposes, and encourage acts of aggression, racism, and hatred, has been lurking in the shadows of the American church for years, spoken of in whispers behind closed doors. All of that notably changed in 2020 when the beast reemerged from the darkness. Scripture often attributes such currents of evil to greater forces being at work in the world. These powers are often envisioned as a serpent, beast, or dragon, or sometimes the Leviathan, an ancient mythical sea monster that lives in the disordered abyss. Job, chapter 3, verse 8, chapter 41, verse 1, Psalm 74, verse 14, Psalm 104, verse 26, Isaiah chapter 27, verse 1. To the ancients, Leviathan was a vivid symbol for cosmic chaos and the evil powers that oppose the loving, orderly ways of God. They recognized that humans could choose to align with this dragon-like power to the point of becoming like dragons themselves. Leviathan captures both the material and spiritual reality of present-day American Christian nationalism. But how did so many of our loved ones fall prey to this monstrous power? How could so many Jesus followers support such fear-mongering, rage-inducing, Bible-distorting, arrogant, deceitful, dehumanizing behavior? In the recent atmosphere of political and social upheaval, many of our neighbors found comfort in the promises of American Christian nationalist leaders. They began looking to them for guidance, hope, and power. They were choosing to be shepherded not by spiritual leaders that look and act like Jesus, but instead were being discipled daily, sometimes hourly, by organizations that championed Christian nationalists and by media outlets that leveraged anxiety about COVID-19, demonstrations for racial justice, and a contested presidential race to incite viewers and expand their influence. These organizations then sold American Christian nationalism as a godly solution that would protect followers' faith, family, and of course, firearms. And a multitude of evangelicals bought what they were selling, supporting organizations that propagate this false gospel with time, energy, and money. As a pastor of a suburban non-denominational Bible church, I felt like I had a good handle on the political leanings of my fellow evangelicals. I assumed most, but not all, would continue to endorse candidates that supported politically conservative policies. However, I was shocked to discover just how many of them were happily giving full-throated support to the ungodly leaders and organizations promoting American Christian nationalism. To be clear, my concern was not about some vague multitude of Americans. I was concerned about my people, my community, my church, my friends. They seemed anxious and outraged, swept up in the chaos of the moment. Seeking security and peace, they began to embody the words of false prophets who claimed to be standing for Christ, but exhibited very little of his spirit. These people that I loved, people I had known to be kind, caring, and compassionate, were boldly repeating hateful, rage-filled statements about immigrants, public school teachers,